Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Gessel, and I'm the Director of Public Programs at Museum of the African Diaspora in San Francisco. I want to take a moment to acknowledge the challenging circumstances we are all in, and I hope everyone in the audience today is safe and healthy. MOAD stands in solidarity with Black Lives Matter. We honor and mourn the senseless murders of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, Tony McDade, Rayshard Brooks, and so many others who have lost their lives at the hands of police brutality and racial injustice, including those whose names we do not know. We also acknowledge and wish resilience upon Jacob Blake, who remarkably, in spite of being nearly killed by 7 targeted police bullets in an ongoing act of white supremacist terror exacted by the state, has survived. As many of us are settlers, immigrants, or descendants of those forcefully brought to this continent, our institutions were founded upon exclusions and erasures of the indigenous peoples whose land we are located. With deep respect, MOAD acknowledges that even in virtual space, our people, our work, and our network servers are on the native lands, and thank the indigenous people of the Bay Area who have stewarded this land throughout the generations. I welcome you to MOAD Online and to our program series, Conversations Across the Diaspora with Sarah Ladipo Manyika, occurring monthly with guests from all over the globe. Some you may recognize and some you may not, but all will bring a new perspective to the African diaspora. I want to thank Peggy Woodford Forbes for helping to support this series, and let you know that today's program is being live streamed on Facebook Live, and a recording of the program will live on our MOAD YouTube channel. We love learning where our audience is joining us from throughout the diaspora, so please type your location in the chat, and stay tuned at the close of the program to see who's up next and how you can help support MOAD. Today, we are thrilled to be presenting Sarah in conversation with actor and singer Tatyana Ali. Tatyana Ali is best known to millions worldwide for playing Ashley Banks in the iconic comedy series The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Born in Brooklyn, New York, she is a Broadway-trained actress, singer, producer, activist, and Harvard University graduate. Ali has appeared in numerous television, film, and theatrical projects over her career, which began at 4 years old, including Sesame Street, the Pulitzer Prize winning Broadway production of Fences, The Young and the Restless, and Disney's Glory Road. The 5-time NAACP Image Award winner, Harvard Aspiring Minority Business Leader, and Black Girls Rock honoree, she was named one of the most beautiful women in the world by People Magazine and Español and People Magazine. She holds a gold record for her 1998 debut album Kiss the Sky, which included the hit singles Daydreamin' and Boy You Knock Me Out, and joined both the NSYNC and the Backstreet Boys world tours. In 1999, her recording of Precious Wings for the Adventures of Elmo and Grouchland soundtrack won a Grammy Award for Best Musical Album for Children. In 2013, Ali digitally released the independent EP, Hello. She co-founded Hazra Entertainment, a production company dedicated to creating quality content for underserved communities. The company was a production partner on the Martin Lawrence executive-produced sitcom Love That Girl, the first original scripted program on the TV One network. Hazra Entertainment also produced the acclaimed web series Buppies for BET.com. Ali has spent the majority of her career engaging in humanitarian efforts. During the 2008 and 2012 presidential campaigns, she served as a surrogate for President Obama, speaking to communities and young people across the country about voting as an imperative. She did the same grassroots work for Hillary Clinton's campaign in 2016. She's hosted the United Negro College Fund's Empower Me Tour 3 years in a row, has been a spokesperson for the Millennium Momentum Foundation for 8 years, and is actively involved in Black Girls Rock, an organization dedicated to educating and mentoring young women. After publishing her first op-ed in Essence magazine in 2019, entitled Birthright, Tatyana was asked to serve as a celebrity council advocate for the March of Dimes. She resides in California with her husband and 2 sons. And I also want to introduce Sarah Ladipo Manyika, who is the host of our program. Sarah was raised in Nigeria and has lived in Kenya, France, Zimbabwe, and England. She is a novelist, short story writer, and essayist, and founding books editor for Aussie.com. Her debut novel, Independence, is an international bestseller, while her second novel, Like a Mule Bringing Ice Cream to the Sun, has been translated into a number of languages. Her nonfiction personal essays include intimate profiles of people she meets, from Mrs. Harris and Pastor Evan Mawirire to Toni Morrison and Michelle Obama. Sarah has previously served on MOAD's board and currently serves as board director for the Women's Writing Residency Hedgebrook. So please join me in welcoming Sarah Ladipo Manyika and Tatyana Ali.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. And thank you to all the audience that we cannot see, but we're seeing in the chat that you're coming from all over the world, from Cambridge, the UK, London, Seattle, Oakland, New York. Thank you so much for joining us. And above all, thank you, Tatyana Ali, for being our very special guest on this series that celebrates the rich diversity of the African diaspora. Diversity in terms of where we come from, who we are, our lived experience. And it's just wonderful to have you. And for those of you who have been following this series, you will notice that all of our guests are multi-talented. And Tatyana is definitely multi-talented in so many areas. She is an actor, she is a singer, she is a writer, and we'll hear even more as we discuss. So thank you so much. Tatyana, we start by asking, in these times, how are you? And where are you at the moment?
I'm in the Bay, in California, and thank you for checking in. I feel like we all have to do that for each other. How am I? I'm okay today. I was excited to speak with you, and so that's where, you know, after breakfast with the kids, that's where my mind and my heart has been. I for a moment walked by, you know, the TV area and heard a bit of what was going on, and then I quickly walked away. I kind of give myself, you know, moments to ingest what's going on, and then, you know, but I just enough to have information. Yeah, like working on taking, like, you know, deep breaths, trying not to breathe shallow.
And those, I think the deep breaths, for those who are not in the Bay Area, deep breath has several meanings at this time, I think.
Yes, it does.
I know there are many on the call from Oakland, but we're both in California, and there have been fires. There continue to be fires. So we wake up, and I'm looking outside. The air quality is very bad here. Yeah. At least the fires are not right here, so I feel I can't complain. But it's a tough time in that sense, environmentally, and then it's a tough time in terms of what we see happening on the national stage. But we will get to some of these things as we talk. Let me take a step back, though, and ask, what is your connection to the African diaspora? We always like to start our conversation there.
My connection to the diaspora, my mother is from Panama. I think via the Caribbean, so I guess Afro-Antillean, and she came to the United States when she was 16. So she's my connection to the diaspora. My father is also from the Caribbean. He's from Trinidad. He's South Asian. He's Indian.
So when we were speaking earlier, when you mentioned that background, I said it sounds very familiar to the presumptive Democratic vice presidential nominee.
Yes.
And you told me an interesting story that made me laugh. And I wonder if you can share that with our audience.
Yes, I've known of Kamala Harris for a very long time, and have gotten the opportunity to speak with her and meet her. And but when the announcement was made, her background became a huge part of the story. And, you know, Black people embraced her, South Asians and Asians embraced her as well. And that kind of identity has always made me, you know, a little different in different circles that I'm at. And so to see someone being celebrated from all of the people and places she comes from was so heartening to me that I leapt up and I said, "Do you see her?" to my 4-year-old Ozzy. "Do you see her? She is a Black and Indian woman just like you." And he said, I'm not a Black and Indian woman." And I said, "Yes, you're right. No, you are not."
So, you see, that's what comes from having a mother who's an amazing actor. You should have been like, you can be a Black Indian woman if you try.
Yes. You can be whoever you want. I believe it. It's true.
That's a wonderful story. Tatyana, you started off your professional career as an actor, indeed as a singer, at a very young age. I think you began with Sesame Street, one of the children who in the crowd, as it were. And you also were a couple times on a program called Star Search. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to ask Elizabeth to pull up a clip that shows you at, I believe, 7, when we can hear you singing a Marvin Gaye cover song, I think it was. Mm-hmm. So let's take a listen. Okay. Wow. I love that. I think that's just the best beginning for our conversation.
I was having so much fun.
It comes across. And I wanted to ask, do you remember how it felt? Both, that was a point at which you were celebrated, huge applause. There's another clip where you are, I guess, in competition with someone else, and the other person gets a higher score from the judges, and you get a lower score, and you have to step off. But before you do that, you very graciously give the other person a hug. And I just wondered, what do you remember what it felt like as a 7-year-old winning in public like that, but also having to accept, I guess, a loss? As well.
Yes, I actually remember it very well. It's a formative. The win, yes, but also the loss. I remember not understanding fractions, And so, and I think it was like 3 1/4 versus 4. And I thought, well, you know, I kind of, in that moment, I thought, oh, wow, I got a big number, 3 1/4. And when I realized that they were telling me goodbye, I actually remember going, hugging the girl next to me. I think her name was Allison, because, you know, we had spent time in the classroom in the back together and played together and heard each other sing. And then I walked backstage, and I can even feel it now, this like ball in my chest. And I kind of walked the gauntlet of performers, the dancers, and everybody that I'd spent time with all those months. Martin Lawrence was actually there. He was a comedian for those episodes. And everyone going, oh, it's so, oh. And my mother was at the end of that gauntlet. And I remember her just opening the door. And I walked in and just collapsed in her and just like poured. You know, I don't know why as a child I didn't just cry in front of everyone. I don't know what that was about, but I remember that very well. And then it doesn't end there.
Yes, that's what I learned. So I was going to ask you.
Then you keep going.
You mean, Tatyana, your life is just not perfect? I mean, you know, you've had all these great roles, you've been this amazing singer. Surely you have never experienced disappointment, rejection, failure.
Yes, I feel like that's almost the name of the game. Someone I went to school with, Sarah Lewis, wrote a really amazing book about that, and I think it's called Rise. It's called Rise. And where she just talks about just all of, you know, these amazing people that we love and admire and how often they failed. And I think a manager I worked with a long time ago said that about baseball players. The more strikes, actually, the more home runs, because it means you're not afraid to swing. You just keep swinging. But nobody knows about all the times you fail. You know, you only see the dots, those dots in that, you know, that wonderful intro that you all gave me, and, you know, Elizabeth reading my bio. Those are the successes. There's a lot of space in between, but we don't talk, you know.
Yeah, no, you know, I sometimes sort of wonder what it would be like if we introduced people the other way around. So sort of my introduction, for example, would include the fact that I failed English literature. And, you know, but it doesn't say that. It says I'm a novelist that's, you know, sold a bunch of books and got, you know, and what would it be like if we had a reverse CV highlighting things where we didn't win? But we're not going to stay on all of those losses. We're going to move on. We may come back to that, but we're going to move on. And Elizabeth, I'm going to ask if you can bring up another picture that shows you on the set of Fences, which was a Broadway play. And maybe talk to us a little bit about this and some of the amazing actors that you worked with at a very young age. And I'm guessing you were 7, 8,
I was
9?
I think about 7 or 8 years old here as well. I was an understudy at first for over a year to an actress named Karima Miller, and she was the original Raynell even at Yale. But you know, I was there for all of the rehearsals, and I got to work with Lloyd Richards, and really just my parents told me, you know, be a sponge, and I was. I listened and absorbed it all, or tried to. August Wilson was also there. And after that year and a half understudying and rehearsing, you rehearse consistently as an understudy. They had me audition for the role. Karima had, you know, grown out of it. And I got the role. And this picture is from the same Broadway production without James Earl Jones, but with Billy D. Williams and Lynn Thigpen and Byron Allen and Ray Arana and, oh my gosh, Vince there. Yeah, it brings back a lot of memories of just being in the theater. And I have to tell you, that is still my favorite place. When I went to college, I I really went with an open heart and an open mind, you know, thinking I really want to explore other things that I'm interested in and see if this is what I want to do as a grown-up. And I did For Color Girls at the X Lobe with my roommates, and I spent that semester in the theater. And it's not even about being on stage. It's like it's the smell of the theater. It's the work that you're allowed to do, the time that you're allowed to give, preparation. And I was the happiest I had been the entire, you know, my entire time in college. And I realized, oh yeah, this is where my heart is. I was lucky to find it early, you know?
That's amazing. And Elizabeth, I'm going to ask you to move on to the next picture. And then when maybe after a second or two, we can take the pictures off to come back to talk. This is what many people remember you as, Ashley Banks on the set of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I'd love to hear you talk about this for a moment and what it really feels like this was your training. You trained on the job, as it were.
Yes.
You know, so I'd like to hear a little bit more about that, but I'd also like to know, you know, what was it like to reach the peak of your career or of a child acting career on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and then to leave it? Was that a relief? Did it give you more creative autonomy? Or did you feel that somehow you were boxed into that particular role, everyone referring to you as Ashley Banks?
That was never a big problem for me. I know it was for some of my cast members. I don't think it was a problem for me because it was so formative and people were always so kind and loving. And I don't think there's anything wrong with, I think it's wonderful to play a character that everybody remembers. I also knew that I had my own personal growing to do. So I didn't feel stymied by that at all. What was difficult, I think, and it's absolutely different now when you look at, you know, like somebody like Yara Shahidi and her going to college, and just the instinctive response is to support her and to cheer her on and to watch the films that she's doing while she's in school and all of this. At the time that I graduated from Fresh Prince. No,
absolutely.
I know. I graduated from high school around the same time. I put out music around the same time. I deferred a year from college for that. And then I went to college, but I definitely went to college with the majority of the people around me, not my family, not close friends, not Will, but the majority of people and the business saying, oh, okay, well, it's good to have something to fall back on, which is so interesting to me because I'd always been raised and I just knew it in my heart that it's like, no, well, no matter what I do, I'll have more to offer. I mean, I'm nurturing myself. That's what a young person is supposed to do. So that, I think, if there was any difficulty, it was that, and like fighting what I knew inside versus what mostly everybody else, what everyone else was saying to me.
So you stepped off that stage, graduated, let's say, from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Did some music, which we'll come back to, but then you went to college and you chose Harvard. Mm-hmm. Why Harvard, and what did you major in?
Why Harvard? I'll tell you this story. I did go to a regular high school along with being tutored. And so I had the college advisors at high school help me, with the applications and where you should apply, given your grades and whatever, your stats and all this stuff and your experience. And the college advisor that I was assigned to gave me one list, and another college advisor, Mr. Martinez, gave me an entirely different list. He kind of tapped me on the shoulder at lunch one day and said, come to my office. I want to talk to you. I know so-and-so, but here's the list of the schools I think you should apply to. And Harvard was on that list and some other schools. And I just thought, oh my God, me? What? Huh? And I bring that story up. I think it's important just to remember that we are always mentoring someone, whether it's for good or for bad. And also there's no, you know, a young person has no idea what they're capable of. You know, somebody has to be there to say, here's what you can jump here. You can get this high. And so that's how I ended up at Harvard. I visited all the campuses, all the places I got into with my father, dead of winter. And that was the place that just, you know, it kind of lit my imagination up. And I ended up studying government, which is political science. And I did a lot of work at the Barker Center of African American Studies.
I mean, it's so interesting to hear you talk of the teacher, Mr. Martinez, who really encouraged you to reach for the sky, or whatever the metaphor is, and go to Harvard. And it's interesting hearing you say that about someone else, because I know that you are very much into motivating young people. You're involved on a lot of platforms, speaking to young women, young children, and being sort of a motivational force. And so it's wonderful to hear how that came to you too.
Mm-hmm.
So acting and Harvard and singing, you have a beautiful voice, and you have released and sang many songs. You know, earlier on in this series, we tried to sing, or at least this was when I was talking to Jess Cole, an amazing writer and journalist in London. We tried to sing a Sade song and it just didn't kind of work. So I wonder, just, you know, I'm saying the we, I'm not pointing the finger at me, because it was me. My voice sounded a little bit off. So you are such a beautiful singer. I remember many of the songs that you sang and listening to them. Many of them were hits in England, actually. I think part of the time that you were singing, I was in England. And I wonder if you have a favorite song, and if we can ask you to show us how it's done. I mean,
Goodness.
We heard you when you were 7.
Yes. You know, I have a lot of favorite songs. I do think, though, that, you know, well, okay. There's a song from the album I did when I was younger called Kiss the Sky, and it's written by Sean Stockman. And if I had been a more mature I mean, I was 15 and 16. If I had been a more mature artist, I would have probably worked with him for the majority of the album, because we did this song and it meant so much to me that it ended up being the title of the album, Kiss the Sky. I'll sing. Can I sing that one to you?
Oh, please.
It's also thinking about this, you know, and preparing for our talk. I realized like how I remember the whole song. It's so long ago. Okay. Close your eyes and take my hand. I know you're wondering, but you will soon understand. See, love needs time to grow and time to run free. That's why we should get away, so we can chill privately. Through the weeks you go your own way, and I go mine. Never truly enjoying each other, never a chance to unwind. So give your heart to me, in my hands right now. We'll search for tomorrow under a silver cloud. At last we're alone. Oh, and I wanna fly so high that I kiss the sky.
I wish we could turn on all the mics and you could hear the applause. I can already see messages in the chat. Beautiful, beautiful, Tatyana.
Thanks for letting me sing.
No. Thank you. Thank you. So, Tatyana, acting, singing, and producing, one of your most recent films that you were a producer for was a film entitled Jingle Bell. It's a holiday film, and you were one of the producers. And I wonder what it is like. What does it mean to be a producer? And does the experience of being a producer make you see acting perhaps in a different light, or does it?
Yes,
maybe you can.
Yeah, it does. You know, I started producing out of necessity. In the early 2000s, you know, there wasn't a lot of work. There was no work. I mean, I would audition maybe once a week, or pilot season would come and I'd have 2 pilots to audition for. It's very different now, thank goodness. And it looks like it's going to stay that way because it kind of ebbs and flows, or it has in the past. And I just had so many friends. We were all searching for work, and it was like, what? Well, we're all the talent. Like, let's just put it together. So for me, the producer, this was different. This was with the network Lifetime, but the majority of the things that I've produced have been, it's very much like detective work, where you're, you know, and that's, I guess, independent producing, you know, just finding the avenues, like knowing in your heart that you're going to get this done, and really searching underneath every single rock, and putting all of the people together, putting all of the financing together, all of the talent, and just getting it onto a screen so this idea can become a reality. It changed. I think it's made me a better actor. I think of story in a much more kind of holistic way than I did before, which, you know, as an actor, you're sometimes you're making certain choices. If it's well written, you feel like you have a billion choices and possibilities. But having seen stories now through a producer's eye, it kind of, I don't know, I have more of an idea of not just, it's not myopic to look at your character, you know, alone, but because that's important. But yeah, just, I guess it's structure. It's structure. It like elevated the importance of structure to me a little bit more.
We're going to go back to the images. Again, I want to talk about everything at much greater length, but I'm conscious of the time. So we're going to go on to an image here taken from some of your writing. So I was saying earlier that you're such a sort of a motivational force. You advocate for women and young girls. And this is a piece that you wrote for Essence entitled Birthright, when you were looking at Black maternal mortality, which has been, I see recently, it's been much more in the news again. So I wonder if you can say a word or two about this piece.
Yeah, I wrote this piece because of you know, I explained my own birth experience with my son, and then how we had a paradigm shift and why, and a portion of what I learned, and my husband, what we learned along the way. I was in the room. I was lucky enough to be in rooms with Black birth workers and midwives and doulas and also OBGYNs who are in this reproductive justice movement. And I also had the opportunity to speak to a lot of Black women who are now afraid to, you know, become mothers and to give birth because of the way the story is being told. And it's told the way many of our stories are told. I think that, you know, that there's something that there's a tinge of fault in it, that there's something inherently wrong with our bodies and the way we birth and all this stuff. And so I wanted to, and it's not just in this article. This article was kind of the beginning of me formulating these ideas. They're projects I'm working on now. to share all of the information I had, and to also, you know, celebrate us and our and who we are as mothers, and our power, and to, you know, teach that there are historical reasons for this, and that it's also not a mystery, you know, what will prevent deaths, abuses, which was my story, and you know, and what's been going on. There are people in this movement that have answers. They have solutions that are working. So to get that message out there, because I think I see politicians talking about it, but it's a talking point. You can very much sense that there's not really an understanding of what the problem is and how it can be, you know, how it can be fixed. And there are now pilot programs in Los Angeles, doula programs with Medicaid and things like that that are starting. But yeah, it's just really I want to share information that I wish I had the first time around.
You know, one of the things I was going to ask Tatyana was, you know, what has it been like for you in this COVID era as an actor? And then I decided, no, I want to ask you what it's like being a mother and juggling your profession and your career. And, you know, we start with giving birth and maternal healthcare hurdles, challenges for Black women. And we are both mothers of Black sons in this country, America, where we see police brutality on a daily basis against young Black men. And I kind of want to ask you, what is it like at this time being a mother, juggling everything in these challenging times, but also as we are daily reminded of systemic, institutionalized racism and more in this nation?
I'm afraid. And I think the point is for us to be afraid, and I feel terrorized. And I say that knowing that I, you know, am very privileged in my life, where I live and what I've experienced. And so I am terrorized. There's a level of terror that's happening. I always think of the, you know, James Baldwin. There's an interview with him that's been going around where he's just like, we just want to be left alone. Like, I just want my kids I just don't want to fear for their lives, you know? It makes me take a day at a time. It's made me, these are the things that have helped me. A day at a time, what can I do? Being there, creating community, even in smaller groups, on this computer, over the phone, checking in. I've become very deliberate about how to care for myself, for my family. I am telling my 4-year-old the truth about what he's hearing about. We spent some time in LA, and I have, you know, my sisters, I have one that works in healthcare and one that, with all of, and Vaughn at the university, we were all talking about it in work, in these pockets in my parents' house, you know, little cubbies that everyone found. And we all kind of had this instinct to be together, you know, our little tribe, to just kind of huddle in. And so the kids know, our children know, they know what's happening, even as young as 4. And we had to start having the conversations and being absolutely honest about what people are doing in the streets, what protesting is about, what it's for, about police officers, about and then, you know, and then prayer and faith. I don't know. I'm trying. I don't know. I'm trying. I feel like, and the only thing that I think is maybe has been helpful is that, there is a level of unease. You know, it's something that's like right here in the throat all the time, behind everything, and we have to, you know, either cough it up, look at it, like don't. It doesn't have to be okay. That's all. That's where it is right now.
One of the things that you're so good at doing, Tatyana, is pointing in the direction of things that we can do, limited as they may be, just the things that we can do, which, as you say, is even just speaking up and talking about these issues to make change. And you've always taken your civic responsibility seriously. That comes from, no doubt, from your background, from your family, even from your studies of political science. This has always been, it always seems to have been a guide for you in what you do and who you are and the choices that you make about things that you do. And it's something that I greatly admire about you. I want to show a clip, just one last clip here, which shows you, I think this was part of an organization, Black Girls Lead. And it's again in your kind of motivational role. You are talking to Kamala Harris. And we're not going to show what she says, but we're going to show just kind of how you intro to a question that you would ultimately ask her.
I have 2 young kids myself, and the oldest is 4.
That's a great age.
But what I know now about children is that, and our young people, no matter how young, even if they're under 18 and they can't actually go to the polls and vote, they know exactly what's going on. They can feel it. They hear it. They know what's happening. They know there's injustice happening. They know that, you know, they're at risk. And there's a feeling of, you know, there's sadness. There's also, what can I do?
Yeah.
You know?
That's right.
What can I do, even as a young person? And you brought up John Lewis and that importance of being able to vote, to being, you know, of being able to change who is in the seats of power.
Yeah.
And who they represent and what they represent and the choices that they make on our behalves.
That's right.
is such an essential part of this country that we live in and that we are a part of. How can young people, beyond voting and going to the polls, if you are of age to do that, how can young people press that effort forward and get involved in the civic process? You know, that's our responsibility. How can they do that? What advice do you have for them?
So one is,
Elizabeth,
there is in many states an opportunity for.
Sorry about that. We were going to stop just after you asked the question. Basically, Kamala reinforced what you said. But yeah, I mean, this is one of the more hopeful things I think that we can look towards. There are things that we can do.
Vote early.
Exactly. Another thing that you do in this kind of realm, or that you're doing currently, I think, hopefully we can talk about it a little bit, is you're bringing voice to stories that we may not fully know, or that we may have forgotten. I know that you're working on a biopic at the moment on a singer that will not be named. But tell us a little bit about what has led you to do this and to write about a Black artist's life?
Well, once again, somebody kind of planted the seed. James Avery, my father on Fresh Prince, he planted the seed of this story. You know, as somebody I should play. And then, you know, as time has gone on, so she's always been there. And even him saying that to me was an introduction. But as I've gotten to learn about her story, this person's story, oh my gosh, I'm so in awe of someone who fights so hard to reach their potential, you know, just to be yourself. And, you know, and in that, you know, unfortunately, especially Black people, Black women, when they try to be themselves, it's a political act. It's a form of activism in itself, just to attempt that. And so that was interesting to me. I love this person as an artist. There are things that I've learned about her life, and that if you look at many Black artists' lives, these things are often left out in the biopic, or, you know, very well educated. And I don't necessarily mean whatever we call a formal education is, you know, I don't mean a diploma, but I mean well-trained. Years of study. And when, you know, these groundbreaking moments that changed American culture, and even beyond the United States, changed culture, when these happened, when many of our artists helped to create those moments and those changes and that evolution, I feel like it's often told as like, oh, they just stumbled, you know, it's like a trip, like, oh, you know, and maybe I might be a little sensitive to that because I was a child performer, and it's very much, you know, like, it's like I hate to say this, but some people treat it as like a dance. I don't want to say that. Like, dance, like, there's a saying, it's like dance monkey dance, and I don't even mean that in the racial way that you know, but we do that to children, we do that to child performers. We take for granted how much skill it takes to be able to do what they're doing. And I think we treat our Black artists the same way, at least in storytelling. Not necessarily, there's a large, you know, whatever the larger we is, or maybe it's Hollywood, or it's Hollywood filmmaking stories, where it's like these happy accidents, or, you know, I'm just sitting at the keys and bloop, I put gospel and rock and roll together. Look at that just happened. What? Oh, I'm on the road. It's like, no. These are people of great intellect. They're brilliant. And so that is what also intrigued me about this person's story. Is that in her story is a history of Black artistry.
Right. I see that people are giving us suggestions. You know, Nina Simone, Tina Marie, Billie Holiday. I mean, the list is very long, and we look forward to the biopic once it comes out. Time is just ticking away too quickly, as always. So I'm going to wrap up with some rapid questions that we ask related to the African diaspora. And, you know, if you wish to sing a song just before we come to audience questions, another song, I have no shame. You know, maybe a Nina Simone song, a Tina Marie song, a Billie Holiday song, a Tatyana Ali song, whatever you want. But let's get these quick questions first. If you could change anything about the way that people think of the African diaspora, what would it be?
I wish, especially in the States, but this could be just an American thing in general, I wish there was a more international view. I wish, you know, I remember being a kid and, you know, being a Black child, and with black friends who I had to explain, like, you know, why our food was a little different or why it was a little spicy or a little, I just wish we had a sense of, you know, how we were dispersed throughout the world. Because I think, and it's a matter of education, I think. I mean, it is, even at the grade level, you know, you only learn that, you learn that much later in life, and I think it's too late.
That is why we have conversations across the
Yes,
diaspora.
ma'am. I see that.
Who is your favorite artist from the African diaspora? An impossible question, but hey.
Okay, so there are a lot of really amazing artists. So writer, performer, Michaela Cole. She has a show out on HBO now called I May Destroy You. Before that, she there was a comedy that she did that I found on Netflix. I think it's called Chewing Gum. Mm-hmm. Robin Thede, the writer and one of the stars of Black Lady Sketch Show. She's also a friend, but I'm just like amazed by how brilliant she is. Stacey Barth, who's an amazing singer, songwriter. And I feel like I think underrated, like people don't really know about her as much as they should.
So I'm going to come in here because otherwise you're going to keep going. I can see.
Yes.
And I was going to ask, who is the most underappreciated artist? And you just mentioned someone that you think is underappreciated, underrated. Which African city should host the next big award ceremony for, you know, like an Oscars or an Emmy? Or...
Well, I think Nollywood should
take it to Nigeria. Yeah.
Yes, I think so. And I think, you know, I've had fun. Like even on Netflix, like you can kind of search. They're starting to make some of the films that are happening out there more accessible. But I'm really interested in what's going on out there. I think it's pretty amazing.
You're getting some seconds in the chat saying yes to Nigeria. Lastly, best place to see, experience, taste food from the African diaspora.
Well, I mean, I feel like I haven't gone out to eat in so long.
Yeah, okay. All right.
But like it's been so long.
It's true. That's an outdated question.
I don't know, but we love Ethiopian food. Our you know, we had Ethiopian food for our wedding, and in there, you know, in LA there's Little Ethiopia, and so we bounced around, and Oakland, of course, there's amazing Ethiopian restaurants, and it works out really well for us because I'm vegetarian, Vaughn's not, and we just make sure, you know, he gets his stuff over there, but we can still share, which doesn't always happen.
That's great. Well, Ethiopia gets a lot of love, it seems, on this series, and I see that we have 5 minutes left, which is just terrible. So we are going to bring on 3 guests who will ask you quick questions, and I see that one of them, Della, has come up. I think we're waiting for the other 2. I'll just quickly say about Della. Della is an amazing Afro-German actor that I had the pleasure of meeting last year in the days when people traveled, and I met her in Germany. And we also have Marty Pascal, who is with us, and she is she's trained as a lawyer, an amazing writer, essayist, novelist. And we have one other guest who will come on hopefully shortly, Ron, who I met a few years ago while he was at Yale, and he's also an incredible writer. So it's so great to see you, at least to see Marty and to see Ron. Ron, let's start with you. And maybe you can just say where you are. What time is it wherever you are as well?
No. I did graduate from Yale in 2018. Major. New York City.
We're not hearing you that well. Do you have a headset by any chance?
Yeah.
Okay, you are wearing a headset. Okay.
Hear me now?
Yes.
Annie, Mama aus. Mama kurz aus.
So hi, I'm Ron. Graduated Yale in 2018 with a major in political science. I was formerly in China, but this thing called COVID happened. So right now I'm in New York. It's about to be 4 o'clock. And my question for you is, right now, there's so much just happening in America. And from everything that politicians are saying, like Barack Obama to Michelle Obama, I feel like just generally to maintain hope and a sense of like vision for the things that could be. And one of the greatest things that we have to combat is cynicism. So I'm wondering, what are the words of empowerment or wisdom or the different tools that you think are available for people, especially people within the Black community, to combat cynicism, especially if Donald Trump gets a second term?
Well, today there's actually a Black National Convention happening. So people can look into that. I don't know everything that's going to be said there, or but I am going to be watching it because I want to see, and I think that it could provide a little bit of what you're talking about. It's because it's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for like what are the platforms? What I want to hear how we're going to move forward, how we are going to fix. Me personally, you just gave me anxiety by saying if Donald Trump wins 2020. My energies, and in the past I would be traveling and I would be, with my clipboard registering people and getting that word out. But we can do it digitally, and everybody has to vote early. Everybody has to vote early, vote early, vote early. Find out. We have to be smarter than, which is so unfair, but we have to try to, circumvent what they're doing, and know that it's real. But also, I still see there's so much there. Here's what makes me hopeful. I consider our history, and I consider what's happened in the past, and the people who are our heroes now came through very dark times. We can use them as examples. This is a journey that is long. It's a journey that is long, and we have been passed the baton. And so it's not for us to say that we're too tired.
Thank you, Ron and Tatyana. Della Dabulamanzi, I know if you can tell us where you are, what time it is. I know that in addition to all the amazing things you do, you are a mother, and I sense that there is a child in the background. If the child comes in, it's absolutely fine. We're cool with that, so don't even worry. It's really lovely to have you, an honor to have you.
So thank you very much for the invitation. Yes, it can be that he's just putting his audiobook back on again. So I'm in Berlin. And now it's like 10 p.m.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So my child doesn't want to go to bed because he's so excited. Like, what is mom doing there? She's having an interview, or kind of asking, kind of a child. I say like, because for me it's so amazing talking to you, just to have the chance to talk to you, because I grew up with you. Fresh Prince from Bel-Air was like the one and only Black family besides Bill Cosby I could watch on German TV. And that was also kind of inspiring to say like, okay, let me try to go this way to become an actress.
Oh, wow.
So So thank you very much. Thank you for the talk. Thank you for the inspiring words. And I would love to ask you, because my son is 6 years old, and he's also like interested already into the industry. And would you recommend your kids to do it? And as a Black kid, what kind of tools would you give your children? Because he's also like getting aware of racism and everything. And in this industry, we are victims of racism. Here in Germany, certain things are changing slowly but surely. But would you recommend your son to do it? And how would you motivate your children to stay by themselves?
I would, my son is 4, the oldest, and he's very precocious, and I have a sense that I'm getting exactly what my parents got. He loves to talk to everyone and loves to tell stories, and so I've actually thought about this. He also has a very own way temperament where he's not gonna, I don't know if he'll really listen to what people tell him to do in the direct. I don't know how that would pan out. But I've thought about it, and it's very worthwhile. I mean, if somebody, I know for me, I was never alone. My mother was always there, or my father was always there, or an aunt was there if something was happening with my sisters. I was never, ever, ever alone. That's the safety is number one. But there's so many skills that come out of acting. You're an actor, just, being able to express yourself, to talk to a group of people, I just don't see it as being any different than a child who shows, incredible proficiency at a sport at an early age, or, if you're willing to, it really is about if you're going to do it with him.
Yes, I know.
That's the biggest question, because if you can, then you can do it in a way that is beneficial, to him and to his development. I know for the biggest thing that's different with child performing is that you're on stage, and just like Sarah was talking about, that applause, that whatever, I have seen other people that I grew up with, some who did not fare well because of exposure to this business, who all of their pride was wrapped up in the endeavor, which as an actor, so, it's competitive. We experience so much rejection for so many different reasons that have nothing to do with us at all, that your pride can't make up all of who you are. It just has to be something that you do and that you enjoy, your art. That's, I guess that's my opinion on that.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Della, thank you so much for joining us. And we're going to close out with Marty.
Hi, thank you for sharing with us for this past hour. As Sarah said, I started as an attorney, and now I'm writing and teaching compassion, etc. So I love hearing other stories from women who aren't keeping themselves in a particular box, and you're hearing about your singing and acting and civic engagement. That said, when you spoke about theater, your face lit up. And I wonder, is that something you're going to continue to pursue, maybe in the near future after the biopic, or whether as an actor or playwright, producer?
I hope so. I've always seen that as a possibility, either drama or musical theater. But I can't say that the opportunities, I've done workshops and things, but the opportunity hasn't shown itself yet. But it's something that well, maybe I need to put it up to the forefront of my mind, because it's true. And we've talked about it. Like, would we go to the East Coast? Yes, we would. Okay. But you're right. It is there's nothing like it. it's a completely different, from film and television, I think.
And that I'm in Oakland, so I was just thinking Berkeley rep will love you. So you don't have to go to the East Coast.
Exactly. We all want to claim you and have you stay in our geographical areas, but also we want you to continue being a singer, an actor, a writer. This has been such a blessing, frankly, to have you. Thank you so much, Tatyana, for your time. As always with these conversations, I personally want them to run on forever, but alas, we can't. I want to thank the audience again for being with us. It's been, even though we can't see you, we so appreciate you being with us and supporting this program. And I'm going to let Elizabeth close it out and tell us about our next guest for the next month. But Tatyana, thank you so much. It's been so wonderful.
Thank you, Sarah.
Okay.